Hello and welcome to Cadex TV. I'm Tom Bailey in London. It's 4:30 PM in London, 11:30 Eastern Time and 12:30 in Bermuda on today, the 1st of April. Today in history. Today in 1793, volcano Bunsen in Japan erupted, killing about 53,000 people. Today in 1931, an earthquake devastated Managua in Nicaragua, killing 2,000 people. And today in 1954, an earthquake and subsequent tsunami ravaged the Aleutian Islands, killing 200 people. And now to the news. Google is facing a new book scanning lawsuit in France. French publishers will launch a second lawsuit against internet giant Google for digitally scanning their books for its vast online library, one of them said yesterday. Antoine Guillemard, chief executive of a major French publisher, Guillemard, told AFP, the Associated French Press, at Paris' annual book fair, he said that we are taking our turn at going into battle against Google along with some of our fellow publishers. He said that three other big French publishers, Albin Michel, Flammarion and Orwell, would also join the action. Google has been, quote, making us promises for months, yet continues with its illegal digitization without the publisher's consent in breach of their copyright, according to Guillemard. Google France declined to comment. A French court in December ruled that Google had breached the copyright of three publishers owned by La Martinière Group by scanning entire books or excerpts and putting them online. It ordered Google to pay €300,000, which is about $406,000 in damages to the publishers, and to stop digitizing French books without publishers' approval. Excuse me. Google has appealed the decision. Opponents of Google's scanning activities have also brought a challenge in a US court against its book scanning agreement with US authors and publishers. Yesterday, the Philippines insisted that its airlines were safe after the Southeast Asian nation carriers were banned from flying into the European Union. The Civil Aviation Authority head Alfonso Cusi said our aircraft meet the international safety standards. PAL, which is the Philippines airline, would like to reassure the riding public that safety remains the bedrock of PAL's operations, the flag carrier said in a statement. The airline was reacting to a notice from European Commission made public the day before yesterday, saying that authorities in Manila had failed to address safety deficiencies raised by the International Civil Aviation Organization, the ICAO. It placed all Philippine carriers, as well as those from Sudan, on a watch list of countries banned from flying to the 27-nation bloc. European Commission Transport spokeswoman Helen Kearns said, in both countries it's because of serious and persistent non-compliance of the civil aviation authorities in terms of overseeing and checks on aircraft. The ICAO raised significant safety concerns after it carried out an audit on Philippine carriers in November last year. China is to spend large amounts of cash to counter severe weather that is being caused by climate change. The country invests heavily in warning systems and infrastructure to tackle extreme temperatures, typhoons, fog and storms. China tomorrow will start ramping up preparations for typhoons, dust storms and other extreme weather disasters as part of a 10-year plan to predict and prevent the worst impacts of climate change. Improved warning systems, new emergency drills and bolstered infrastructure will form the backbone of new regulations which are the country's most advanced measures yet to deal with natural disaster. China has a long history of devastating floods and droughts, but officials said the problems were intensifying. Gao Fengtao, Deputy Director of the State Council's Legislative Affairs Office, said as he unveiled the new policy that it is necessary to respond to the new situation under climate change to avoid and mitigate the losses caused by meteorological disasters. So it'll be interesting to see what actually comes about through those. And now to the world of reinsurance. Reinsurance rates across most lines of property and catastrophe business around the world continue to decline from the levels experienced at January renewals, according to Guy Carpenter in its report on the April 1st renewal period. The April 1, 2010 reinsurance renewals are dominated by Asia, but were conducted with one eye on the catastrophes that occurred elsewhere in the world, according to the broking giant. Reinsurance rates in most cases continued the decline experienced at January renewals, which occurred largely because of the effects of healthier balance sheets. In Japan, rates at the 1/4 renewal showed a declining trend in most classes. Specific changes varied, of course, by line of business, and there were occasional exceptions on problematic lines such as marine hull proportional treaties. Total capacity sought by buyers for their major catastrophe exposures was similar to the expiring year, with reductions by some cedents and increases by the other. Overall, the renewal in Japan was smooth and perhaps easier for buyers than in many previous years, reflecting a generally softer market with fewer major issues or changes in terms and conditions. Renewals were completed within similar timetables as compared to previous years. Chris Klein, Global Head of Business Intelligence at Guy Carpenter, said the April 1st, 2010 renewals are dominated by Asia, but were conducted with one eye on catastrophes. He said that the large earthquake in Chile and to a lesser extent the windstorm Xanthia in Europe were both striking in the first quarter of 2010, caused pause for thought but no more. And finally, sticking on a similar theme, Willis Re has announced that with an unprecedented $16 billion in estimated insurers' catastrophe losses for the first quarter, the first 3 months of 2010 is proving to be the worst ever in record. Not only for its worst first quarter ever for natural catastrophes, according to reinsurance broker Willis Re, it may be the first time in many years that reinsurers will report poorer first quarter earnings than their primary insurance company clients. However, the losses weren't enough to harden the market at April the 1st renewals, said James Vickers, chairman of Willis Re International and Specialty. Vickers said that what this will be is an earnings issue for reinsurers. It's a rude shock for them after their marvellous results last year, but it's not eating into their capital. That's all from us today. We will be back with you at the same time tomorrow. Until then, thank you very much and goodbye.